His name was Raymond, 67 years old, retired school teacher. He kissed his wife goodnight, turned off the lamp on his nightstand, and pulled the blanket up to his chin. She fell asleep beside him. And somewhere in the hours that followed, Raymond's heart gave out. She woke up next to a man who was already gone. No screaming, no gasping, no warning, just silence. And when I reviewed his case, because cases like Raymond's come across my desk more than most people would ever want to know, what I found was not a mystery. It was a pattern, a completely predictable, completely preventable pattern, made up of things Raymond did every single evening without a second thought. Things that felt so normal, so routine, so utterly harmless that he never once questioned them. That is what terrifies me most about this conversation. Not the dramatic heart attacks you see on television, not the ones where someone clutches their chest in a crowded restaurant and someone nearby knows CPR. Those are real, yes, but the ones I lose sleep over, the ones that keep me sitting at my desk long after everyone else has gone home, those are the quiet ones, the ones that unfold in the dark, the ones that happen while a wife is sleeping 2 feet away and has absolutely no idea. I'm Dr. Marcus Ellison. I've been practicing cardiovascular medicine for 23 years. I've performed thousands of procedures. I've sat in front of families and explained what happened to someone they love. And I'm telling you right now, with everything I know, with everything I've seen, that what you do in the hours before you fall asleep is shaping your heart's fate in ways that most people, and honestly, even most doctors, never take the time to explain. Tonight, that changes. I'm going to walk you through 6 things, 6 ordinary, invisible, completely underestimated habits that are quietly destroying your cardiovascular system while you sleep. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to replace them with. Not complicated medical protocols, not expensive interventions, practical, simple, doable things that cost you almost nothing except a little awareness. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could be the difference between waking up tomorrow and not. Before we get into the habits, you need to understand something that most people get completely wrong. Sleep is not a vacation for your heart. Your heart never stops, never rests, never takes a break. But during healthy sleep, it does shift into a different mode. Blood pressure naturally falls, heart rate slows down, the arteries relax. The entire cardiovascular system enters something like a recovery cycle, a period of biological maintenance that it depends on to function properly the next day. In younger people, this cycle runs beautifully. The body knows what to do. The pressure drops on schedule, the vessels dilate, the heart gets its quiet hours. But here is what changes after 60. The arteries begin to stiffen. The hormones that regulate nighttime blood pressure, hormones your body has been producing your whole life, start to decline. The margin of error shrinks. What your cardiovascular system could once compensate for, absorb, and recover from, it now cannot. The protective buffer gets thinner every year. And what fills that gap? Your habits do. The food you ate at 9 o'clock at night, the medication you forgot on the kitchen counter, the temperature your thermostat is set to, the glass of water you skipped because you didn't want to get up at 3 in the morning. These are not small details. These are the levers that determine what your heart experiences in the hours between midnight and dawn, which, if you didn't know this, are statistically the most dangerous hours in the entire 24-hour cycle for people over 60. More heart attacks, more strokes, more sudden cardiac deaths, all concentrated in those quiet, dark, seemingly peaceful hours when no one is watching. What you do before bed determines what those hours look like for your heart. Let's talk about what you need to stop doing. I want you to think about what you ate for dinner last night. What time was it? What was on the plate? If the answer involves pasta, fried food, a large portion of red meat, or anything that felt like a real substantial meal, and if that meal happened after 8 o'clock at night, I need you to hear what I'm about to say very carefully. When you eat a large meal, your body redirects an enormous volume of blood toward your digestive system. Your stomach, your intestines, your liver, they suddenly need significantly more circulation to process what you just put into them. Your heart responds by pumping harder. Blood pressure climbs. The fats and triglycerides in your bloodstream spike sharply within 2 to 4 hours after eating. Now here's the problem. Your body is simultaneously trying to transition into its nighttime recovery mode. Blood pressure is supposed to be dropping. The heart is supposed to be slowing down. The arteries are supposed to be relaxing. But it can't do both at once. You've created a direct conflict inside your own cardiovascular system. On one hand, your digestive system is demanding emergency circulation. On the other hand, your sleep physiology is trying to shift into maintenance mode. For someone in their 30s, the body can manage this tension. For someone in their 60s, with vessels that are already stiffer, with a heart that has less reserve capacity, that conflict has real, measurable, dangerous consequences. Nighttime blood pressure stays elevated. Acid reflux flares up, which, by the way, can trigger sensations that mimic cardiac events, and in vulnerable people can actually provoke them. The blood thickens with circulating fats. And all of this is happening while you're lying still in the dark, unaware. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Finish your main meal no later than 7 in the evening. If you genuinely need something after that, keep it small. A small piece of protein, some vegetables, something that doesn't require your heart to treat digestion like an emergency operation. Give your body 3 to 4 hours between your last substantial meal and the moment your head hits the pillow. This single change, if you do nothing else, will alter what your heart experiences overnight. This one I cannot stress enough. I've had this conversation in hospital rooms more times than I can count, and every single time the patient looks at me with the same expression, a mixture of surprise and quiet frustration that no one told them sooner. If you are over 60 and you take medication for high blood pressure, and statistically there is a very high probability that you do, the timing of that medication is not a minor administrative detail. It is a medical decision with serious cardiovascular implications, and most people have never once been guided through it. Here is the physiology. Blood pressure follows a daily rhythm. It rises through the morning, peaks somewhere in the afternoon, and is supposed to fall at night. That nighttime dip is protective. It gives the arterial walls a break. It allows the heart to recover. But a significant percentage of people over 60, particularly those with hypertension, don't get that dip. Their pressure either stays flat through the night or worse, surges in the early morning hours just before waking. This is called nocturnal hypertension, and it is one of the most underdiagnosed cardiovascular threats in older adults. Here is why it matters more than daytime hypertension. During sleep, your blood vessels are not braced for pressure the way they are when you're awake and active. A surge in blood pressure at 3 in the morning hits the arterial walls differently, more suddenly, with less compensatory response. If there is vulnerable plaque inside a coronary artery, that surge is exactly the kind of mechanical stress that can rupture it, triggering a clot that blocks blood flow to the heart. If you take your medication only in the morning, it may have largely worn off by the time you enter those vulnerable nighttime hours. If you occasionally skip doses, the gap in protection may coincide precisely with your highest risk period. The research on this is not subtle. Clinical trials have demonstrated clearly that evening dosing of blood pressure medication can significantly reduce nighttime cardiovascular events, heart attacks, strokes, sudden cardiac death. What I'm asking you to do is simple. The next time you see your doctor, or even call their office, ask this specific question: should I be taking my blood pressure medication in the evening instead of the morning? That conversation takes less than 5 minutes. The answer it gives you could determine whether your heart gets the protection it needs during the most dangerous hours of the night. Do not assume the timing doesn't matter. Timing in cardiology is often everything. Someone in your life snores. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe, if you're honest, it's you. And I would bet that everyone around that person treats it exactly the same way, as a nuisance, something to complain about, something to joke about at family dinners, something to manage with earplugs or a separate bedroom. I need you to hear me when I say this. I do not treat snoring as an annoyance. I treat it as a potential cardiac emergency in slow motion. Obstructive sleep apnea, the condition most commonly behind severe disruptive snoring, affects more than 30% of adults over 60. The vast majority of those people have never been diagnosed. They have never received treatment, and their hearts are paying for that every single night. Here is what actually happens during a sleep apnea episode. Breathing stops, sometimes for 10 seconds, sometimes for 40, sometimes longer. The oxygen level in the blood drops sharply. The brain registers this as a crisis and does what brains do in a crisis. It triggers a surge of adrenaline. Heart rate spikes, blood pressure spikes. The cardiovascular system is jolted into an emergency stress response. And then it happens again and again. In severe cases, this cycle repeats itself 50, 60, 70 times in a single night. Every single episode is a small cardiac stress event, compounded, night after night, month after month, year after year. The consequences are not subtle. People with untreated sleep apnea have significantly elevated risks of heart attack, atrial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm that dramatically raises stroke risk, heart failure, and sudden cardiac death during sleep. The arteries deteriorate faster. The heart enlarges under the chronic strain. And because the person is asleep through all of it, they often have absolutely no idea any of it is happening. The warning signs go beyond snoring. Do you wake up with a headache that takes a while to clear? Do you feel exhausted even after 7 or 8 hours of sleep? Does your mouth feel dry in the morning? Do you wake up feeling like you've been holding your breath? Have you ever been told by someone beside you that you stopped breathing in your sleep? If any of those resonate, I am asking you directly, not suggesting, asking, to speak with your doctor about a sleep study, a formal evaluation. Treatment, most commonly a CPAP device, is not glamorous. I know that. Patients tell me all the time. But the cardiovascular data on CPAP compliance is remarkable. Blood pressure measurably improves. Atrial fibrillation rates decrease. Cardiac risk drops significantly. One conversation with your doctor, one evaluation, one device. It can fundamentally alter the trajectory of your heart health. This one catches people off guard because the reasoning behind the habit is so sensible. You're 60-something. Getting up at 2 in the morning is disruptive. It breaks your sleep. It's unpleasant. Fall risk is real. So you stop drinking fluids after dinner, sometimes after 4 in the afternoon. Problem solved. Except here is what you've actually done. You've ensured that by the time you fall asleep, your blood is running thicker than it should be. Dehydration, even mild dehydration, increases the viscosity of blood, how thick and sluggish it becomes as it moves through your vessels. In a young, healthy cardiovascular system with wide, flexible arteries, this is a manageable inconvenience. In a person over 60 with vessels that have been narrowing and stiffening for decades, it is something else entirely. Thick blood moves slowly. Slow blood through narrowed arteries is far more likely to form a clot. And during sleep, when your heart rate naturally decreases and you're lying completely still for 7 or 8 hours, the circulation slows even further. You now have a near-perfect storm. Thick blood, slow circulation, narrow vessels, and complete physical stillness, all occurring during the hours when cardiovascular events are statistically most likely to happen. This is one of the primary reasons that strokes and heart attacks cluster in the early morning hours. People are waking up, starting to move, and the clot that formed quietly overnight is suddenly dislodged into circulation. The solution requires almost nothing from you. A full glass of water, 8 ounces, before you get into bed. A second glass on the nightstand for when you wake up in the night. That is it. That is the entire intervention. You don't need to hydrate aggressively throughout the evening. You just need to ensure that when your body enters those long, still, vulnerable hours, your blood is not already working against your heart. Your kidneys will thank you. Your brain will thank you. And your arteries, quietly, invisibly, will thank you too. This is the one that surprises people most in my office because it sounds almost trivially simple. And yet the physiology behind it is completely real. Your bedroom temperature directly affects your cardiovascular system overnight. When the room is too warm, and I mean anything above about 22 degrees Celsius, roughly 72 degrees Fahrenheit, your body spends the entire night trying to shed heat. Blood vessels near the skin dilate to radiate warmth outward. Your heart rate stays elevated. You sweat, losing fluid, which circles directly back to the dehydration problem we just discussed. And critically, your sleep architecture deteriorates. You spend less time in the deep, slow-wave sleep stages where the most intensive cardiovascular restoration happens. Less deep sleep means less recovery for your heart, night after night. The opposite extreme creates different but equally real problems. A bedroom that drops below 16 or 17 degrees Celsius, below about 62 Fahrenheit, triggers vasoconstriction. Your body pulls blood away from the extremities to protect core temperature. Blood pressure rises. The heart is now pumping against increased resistance through the entire night. For someone with hypertension or coronary artery disease, that sustained increase in nighttime resistance is not a minor inconvenience. It is ongoing cardiovascular stress. The optimal range, where your body maintains what physiologists call thermoneutral conditions, is between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius, 65 to 72 Fahrenheit. In that window, your vessels stay relaxed, your heart rate stays low and stable, and your sleep stays deep. Check your thermostat tonight. Adjust it if you need to. This is a change that costs you nothing and begins protecting your heart from the moment you fall asleep. This last one ties directly back to sleep apnea, and it deserves its own moment because it is something you can change tonight, before any diagnosis, before any treatment, before any doctor's appointment. Back sleeping dramatically worsens airway obstruction. When you lie on your back, gravity pulls the tongue, the soft palate, and the surrounding soft tissue directly backward into your airway. For people who already have any degree of sleep apnea, this position can double or triple the number of obstructive episodes they experience in a single night. For people who don't yet know they have it, back sleeping may be the difference between a manageable problem and a dangerous one. Side sleeping keeps the airway more naturally open. It reduces the frequency and severity of apnea episodes. It's not a cure. It doesn't replace evaluation or treatment, but it is something you can do immediately, tonight, at zero cost with zero preparation that can measurably reduce the cardiovascular stress your heart experiences overnight. If you're a habitual back sleeper and you want to train yourself out of it, here's a simple trick. Place a firm pillow behind your back that makes it uncomfortable to roll over. Or sew a tennis ball into the back of a sleep shirt. It sounds ridiculous. It works. I don't want to leave you with a list of problems and no clear path forward. That's not what this is. What I've just described is not a collection of fears. It's a map. And a map is only useful if you follow it somewhere. So here is what a heart protective evening looks like, condensed into a real, livable routine. By 6 or 7 in the evening, your main meal is finished. Protein, vegetables, a reasonable portion. Nothing heavy, nothing fried, nothing that forces your digestive system to compete with your cardiovascular recovery. At the same time, if you take blood pressure medication, start having the conversation with your doctor about timing. Ask specifically about evening dosing. That question may be the most important medical question you ask all year. Between 8 and 9, your evening winds down deliberately. Screens go dim or away entirely. Bright light suppresses the hormones your brain needs to initiate sleep, and a nervous system that is still revved up at 10 o'clock does not enter deep sleep gracefully. A gentle walk, quiet conversation, reading something that doesn't spike your adrenaline. These are not luxury activities. They are cardiovascular medicine. By 9, your bedroom is prepared. Thermostat set between 18 and 22 Celsius. A glass of water on the nightstand. If you snore, you are lying on your side, not your back. By 10, you are in bed, not scrolling, not watching a final episode of something, in bed, asleep or working toward it. This routine is not about discipline for its own sake. It is about giving your cardiovascular system what it needs to do its job during the most dangerous hours of the night. It is about ensuring that the hours between midnight and 6 in the morning are spent in recovery, not in crisis. I have been in this field for over 2 decades. I have seen things that most people will never see. I have had conversations that no doctor ever wants to have with the people sitting across from them. And what I know with more certainty than almost anything else is this: the hearts that fail in the night do not usually fail because of bad luck. They fail because of accumulated, unaddressed, unrecognized patterns that nobody ever thought to question. Raymond kissed his wife goodnight. He had no idea. You now do. The question is never whether the information is good enough. The research is clear. The patterns are established. The fixes are real. The question is whether tonight will be different from last night, whether you will make one different choice before you turn off the lamp. Your heart has been working for you every minute of every day since before you were born. It has never asked for much. It asks for a little now. Give it a fighting chance in the dark. Everything shared here reflects general cardiovascular health information based on current research and clinical experience. Please consult your own physician before making any changes to your medication schedule or treatment plan. This content does not replace personalized medical care.